It's officially that time of year again when we get the combines out and get rolling on some winter wheat harvest. We're currently running 3 machines. This is an S680. There's another S680. Further up's a 9770 running a 45 foot, and a 35 foot John Deere head. These are both MacDons, and we're getting something done. It's been a slow start to harvest, just trying to find something dry to cut and dealing with the humidity in the mornings. It's made for not very long hours and not very much production, but we're finally going good. Found some dry wheat running 12.1 on the moisture, and everything's looking good so far. So last time I made a video, we were in planting, and now we're completely done planting. All corn, all milo, it's all on the ground. It all looks really good so far. We've been blessed with a lot of moisture and some very timely moisture at that. So everything is looking pretty good. The wheat has suffered a couple hailstorms, so it's not as good as it should be. The hardest part about using auto steer and 2 different size heads is none of our guidance lines line up. Like, all my guidance lines are on 44 feet, Dad's are on 35 feet. So we have to do all the math every time to figure out how many feet we have to shift over to be able to make everything work smoothly. I'm 3/4 of the way full, and Mom's in the cart there, and we're gonna get unloaded. And this is what you run into whenever math does not calculate correctly. Part of it, filling at least 38 feet out of a 45 foot head. Not the most efficient thing in the world, but I guess we're getting something done nonetheless. So far the wheat's not doing too bad. You can kind of see the ground in some places, like right here, it's a thin spot, but then it kind of picks up over to these little hills where water maybe sat, had a little more moisture, got a thicker stand in the drilling time. In September, whenever this wheat was put in, we really kind of dusted the majority of it in. There was not a whole lot of moisture to speak of, and then late winter, early spring, we were catching some really good rain on it. So it wasn't enough to make the stand thicker and really bump a yield, but we did finish out a lot nicer than what I was expecting with the stand that we did have to start with. Can't have it all, I guess. Hopefully the fall crops, there's some corn sitting up there, that's what that green is. Hopefully most of that moisture will show up as a benefit in the fall crops and the wheat that we will be drilling here in about 2 months. I already got the first casualty of the day. I know that you can't see it because I can't even see it, but somewhere over there is a 9770 that's running to go get an air filter and a radiator blown out. It's a hot day today, and it's definitely testing the cooling systems on all these combines. I'm only running about half so far, which is expected. That's about where this normally runs. But if it get any hotter and we catch a wind like this where it's blowing the heat back into the combine, might see some problems and a lot more things. All right, so excuse the wind, but anyway, I left you guys behind because something really important happened. I caught my combine on fire. This little bearing in there, that went out and it burst into flames. And luckily I was not combining when it ignited. Otherwise it would have launched all the stuff inside. But it could have been bad. It could have been very bad. But it's all good. We're good. I'm gonna rinse it out with the hose, take the bearing off, get her fixed. Hopefully get running this afternoon and no more fires are gonna happen. Not good. I really like that we're cutting right beside our spray setup. So we have a hydrant and a well and water and everything ready to put a fire out. I did have a fire extinguisher on my combine when it happened, and I used it and it worked. And that is just the reason why you should always have a fire extinguisher on every combine and grain cart that you have in harvest. You never know when you're gonna need it. Got the piece back on and we're cooking. It's now the next day. So yesterday, I took the roller off, brought it back, had to go to Goodland, Kansas to get parts. So I had to go to Goodland, Kansas to get all the parts that I needed to put it back together. Got back at 12:30 last night, or I guess it'd be this morning. And they got the piece put back on, and now we are cooking away again. This wheat's doing okay. I think the last field is better. What's killing us in this field is all the weeds that are poking up. That is how you bog combine down. If you can see my engine load running there, keep it in the mustard, trying to stay away from the ketchup, and you're good to go. We're definitely maximizing the machine and using 100% of the horsepower that it has. Other than that, we're about to whip out a quarter and then get moved a mile that way to another half section. Those are some combine killers right there. Those are red root pigweeds, and those are made up of like 80% water. Not good. We brought her in the ketchup a little too much. It's exactly what I'm saying. I wasn't even going that fast. But anyway, they're made up of a lot of water, and that really bogs the combine down, because if instead of them just crushing up and being blown out the back, they stick to everything. And they will close all of your tolerances up, get stuck to all your chaffers, all your sieves, plug everything up top to bottom, and then they make your grain sample really dirty. There's nothing good to say about a pigweed, and they're also nearly impossible to kill with chemical. Now, typically our wheat is not that weedy, but being that we're harvesting about 2 weeks later than usual, just because of how the weather has been, how the moistures came in, it's a problem that we're having to deal with. Some fields we had to spray, others like this one we should have, but we didn't. It's expensive to spray. So if you are able to make it do and get through all of your weeds without having to spray, that's the way to go. These combines now, they have so much horsepower, so much capacity, they can chomp through a lot of weeds and not even be phased at all. So some of these fields we're making it work because we really don't want to have to spend the money to kill it if we don't need to. Now after we harvest, we will go in with Paraquat Roundup. We'll do the first application of Paraquat, kill all the broadleaves, melt everything in the field down, and then later on when everything starts greening up again, the pigweeds are probably going to be out of season by then, but a lot of our grasses still will be. So we'll come in with glyphosate and a ½ pound of atrazine and start working on our residual for next year for the Mila. There's a better view of combine number 2 as it comes out from behind my mirror. That's an S680 with a FD 75 45 foot Macton, and then there's combine number 3 over there, which is a 9770 with a 635D John Deere. That's more like it. Hardly any weeds. There's some terraces that kind of snake through this whole field, so everywhere where there's a terrace there's a little bit of weeds, but for the most part we were in some clean, good looking wheat, able to run 4.6 mile an hour, and yield monitor's broke. So I don't know what it's doing, but I can tell you right now that it's dry, it's good, and we're cutting this fast. Too bad all the acres don't look like this one. And just like that, one more quarter is wrapped up and in the books. We will now continue on over there where the other combine's moving to another quarter, and might get maybe halfway finished with it, hopefully, if the humidity does not kick up too soon for us.